Hello there, it is me again, Jana from the future. This is part 2 of our lengthy, in-depth review of the Legend of Vox Machina cartoon. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, I'd suggest you do that beforehand so you're all caught up. Unless you're only here for some salt, because we have been mostly gracious with the first 4 episodes so far. Now, however, we are covering episodes 5 to 9, and thus the bleak times, the dark times, the life and times of Archibald Desney, and all he contributed to this show. If you would like to listen to the whole 3.5 hour long special without me interrupting your listening experience every hour or so, you can do that on our Patreon, which we have linked in the video description, the episode information, the metadata, and the Tumblr and Twitter posts promoting this episode. Assuming Twitter is still there when you're listening to it. Also, a quick warning, there will be spoilers regarding Critical Role campaigns 2 and 3 in this, both times regarding Marisha's characters, though concerning Keyleth rather than Bo, and if you know, you know. If you don't, proceed with caution. Thank you very much for tuning in again, and have fun with us getting salty and tired.
Fate's journey has surprisingly little to do with fate.
Yeah, but at least something to do with journey?
Let us recap very briefly this episode.
Please.
Which is... Now on the run, Vex, and Keyleth visit Gilmore for more hate crimes. They grab some supplies, some holy water, some various things, while the rest of the party steals a cart. Scanlan and Keyleth... Skeelift reads some of Delilah's tome.
The reads the tome, okay.
Yeah, the Skeelift reads the tome of Delilah. The Skeelift reads some of Delilah's tome, which Delilah then attempts to get back with more horror movie creatures, her specialty, leading to Vox Machina losing their cart and their supplies, and their poor horses. Meanwhile, the Briarwoods invite some people for dinner, who end up dangling from the sun tree at the end of the episode.
Spoilers for campaign 3.
Yes.
In advance. Ha!
So we've described this episode as like high physical stakes, low emotional stakes. Like this is I don't know, this episode appears to me like they very much had it in mind that an episode should end with the sun tree, right?
Yes, and it should. It's correct.
Yeah, it's correct.
That's how you do it.
They felt that they needed to like invent a new episode whole cloth just for the sake of it ending with the sun tree, where like...
To be fair, I think the original episode also to set them on the journey, fighting, losing their horses, and then walking into Whitestone and seeing the sun tree. So this is technically adapted.
It's technically adapted, it's just not, like, it doesn't have all the fun... This is the problem with doing a technical adaptation of D&D, which is that if you do a technical play-by-play adaptation of D&D, you don't have the time to do all the fun character stuff. Even though this episode, actually, that's the one highlight, is that they do fun character stuff.
Yeah, they do.
But you don't have as much time to deal with that kind of fun stuff, so you're just kind of left with the slog of combat.
Yeah, the combat was like... Again, like, I feel like you could have cut some of the combat bits here, maybe have the wraiths in the previous episode be successful, and then just set out on the journey and cut the combat bits and have the episodes combined to keep, the pace up.
Yeah, it doesn't help that I really don't like the it really just matters how much, like, to me, I'm a very shallow person at the end of the day, and I judge things based on how pretty the monsters are. And these monsters aren't very pretty. I didn't like these monsters.
They are very creepy.
They're very creepy, but, like, they're creepy and, like, they feel to me like they came out of a Soulsborne game, Like, this is a Bloodborne monster. Like, it just came, like, and not even, like, in a good stylistic way. It feels like you, like, grabbed the asset out of a video game and just plonked it here. Like, they don't mesh with the world around them. They don't feel natural. Like, they just are just, like...
That's true. They're just not, like, the wraiths, at least were, like, some ghostly risen corpses, but are they just weird vagina-mouthed wolves around Whitestone that all die? What is this?
Apparently.
I mean, the design, I like the design. I think it's cool. I think it's nasty enough.
Okay, fair enough. I recognize that this is entirely biased.
Yeah, but it is, like, but with the internal logic of things, it's like, okay.
They're also just kind of a little floaty, is what I would describe them as. Like, they have, like, a lot of reach. Like, they reach with their tails and their tongues and stuff, and they're they don't really, they kind of like move very like there's just something about them that doesn't quite click for me. Like,
yeah.
But this is fine. We're not here to critique
it also doesn't
the movie
matter.
monsters.
They're here for this one episode. Who cares?
Who cares? You're right. Who cares? And
the people who animated them, which like fine.
The people who animated them, I think, did a great job with what they were given. I think the scenes with them are good. Mm-hmm. It's just that I think that they weren't as, I think the problem was like I think that ultimately like as good, even if you had like perfect movies and had perfect fight scenes, the problem is just the low emotional stakes of just. That they need, like, at the end of the day, the stakes are just get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and it's even less stakey than the episode before, because in the episode before, they at least had, like, escape this place to get to other place under penalty of death.
Win over this trust of this guy.
Yeah, find a way out of here.
Yes, whereas this
and try not to die. And this is just, we are on the way.
Yeah, the highlight of this entire episode is the campfire conversation.
It is. They have a cute little campfire conversation where some party members recount the tales of the weirdest creatures they slew, which are, in the case like Vax and Keyleth both tell stories that are that are like a cameo of things that happened in the actual campaign.
Yeah, which actually, I really like this one because it's like the way to do those references without it being like a ding, you made a reference.
We would actually make the ding sound while the references were hanging, though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we would. But
not even when they were bad, just when they existed.
Yeah, it also like they're not given context, and like Grog's fight scene feels like it might be a reference to several things that actually happened.
What was Grog's scene?
He like fights this monster in a desert, and he like pulls its jaws apart and like sticks his head in and tears the tongue out, which is like he does.
Is this the boulette fight? What is this?
It might be the boulette fight, or it might be a fight in Ankarel. The way that I think of it is, I think it feels to me like they took several fights and like kind of combined them.
Maybe. I mean, he killed the Yank in a similar way, the Goristro.
Yeah, the Goristro.
But the Goristro has a different build. I think it was supposed to be the boulette, just in a different skin, because he fought it in the desert, not in the Underdark.
Yeah, it felt more like a homage than a reference.
Yeah.
Which I think works.
Keyleth just shushes someone in lava, which she also does in the Underdark.
Yeah, and obviously we don't see them going to the Underdark, and it doesn't really fit for them to have gone to the Underdark, because they don't know Allura.
Whatever.
But, like, it's fine. It works. It's a fun scene. We don't need the context of them having gone to... It doesn't need to make sense. It just is a funny scene regardless, which is why it works. Like, you don't need to know the whole context of the Underdark to enjoy it.
You don't. This is a very good moment in isolation and stuff.
Also,
and Vax gets to not quite kill the Rakshasa.
Yes. Also, I felt like their voice acting, which at some points veers a little stiff, it was very natural in this scene. Like, Mercy going like, go to sleep, is really funny. Like, I don't know, when they get to actually like play the way that they did play in session, it comes out very natural, and like it really does make me smile to hear it.
Yeah, speaking of voice acting, so Scanlan tells a story about some weird two-headed demon lady that he also fucked before killing her in self-defense, and still finishing.
Where's this going?
And if you listen closely...
Oh!
If you listen closely, which I did, I made Bal rewatch the scene like 3 times just to be sure. That demon lady is voiced by Laura.
Yeah, there's some moaning.
It is specifically Laura using the voices I most associate with Toru Honda and Rise Kujigawa.
Oh my god.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. This is the kind of content that people come here for.
Sure it is. So if you, nah, let's not go there. I have another thing to add about this episode.
Yes.
So Vex has noticed that Vax, and Gilmore also notices this in the brief hate crime that occurs, has noticed that Vax now looks at Keyleth weird, which, by the way, every time Vax glances at Keyleth weird here would have hit a lot better if he'd had like the epiphany realization vision of her while he lay dying, but
it would have.
We've been there.
It also would have looked better if he didn't have those like weird like eye lines that make him look like an old man, because now whenever he stares at
looks like Itachi.
Yes. No, whenever he looks at Keyleth, it looks like he's thinking about, like, a student of his that died.
That was a point of, like, that Marisha mentioned in the Q&As, that they were like, so how young is Keyleth really? She ends up dating Vex, so make her legal.
Oh god. Anyway, You were saying.
What I wanted to talk about here, yes. For this stretch of episodes, they had Laura on the panel for the Q&A. And there was this lovely little bit that broke my heart a little bit. When Laura went on about, okay, so Vex notices that Vex is interested in Keyleth, so she makes herself be very mean to Keyleth to kind of scare her off and prevent her from taking the most important thing in her life. And Laura has this monologue explaining her motivations on the couch very deeply, and it's just like, yes, more, give me more, give me more, write this. Why is your husband writing these episodes and not you?
You just get, it cannot be stressed how much, whenever you start to think, being us and caring so much about Vex, you start to think sometimes, like, maybe I'm making up all of this in my mind, you know? Maybe I'm making this more deep than it needs to be. And then Laura Bailey shows up and is like, no.
And then Laura Bailey shows up. And she has written short stories that are just like, oh, wow, every single emotional beat I've been projecting onto Vex is actually real.
It's real as fuck.
And then she comes in here and explains why Vex is a bitch to Keyleth, which is not for a hot reason. Sorry to the Vaxleth shippers, we'll have words for you.
We'll talk to you later. Sorry.
Yeah, it's...
I do believe in fairies.
And it makes you wonder, and every time she does this, it just makes me kind of sad that she doesn't do more writing. Not for this show, not for the books, not for anything else, because her writing is good.
Just write a book, Laura. Like, write a book.
Please.
Write a video game. God, why is she being thrown under the bus for video game companies instead of being on the writing staff for video game companies?
Seriously. And this is, by the way, what I announced I would break your heart with.
Oh, you did break my heart.
Also, the entire panel consisted of her and Taliesin kind of flirting in character.
They're very good. The thing about, like, Laura and Taliesin as role players, and I don't mean this in any kind of RPF thing, they just have a lot of chemistry, and also they're very good at noticing what the other person is doing.
You might not mean it an RPF thing, but can I point your attention towards a certain teaser trailer for the Kickstarter for this project? That started with Travis in bed, Laura next to him, Taliesin the third one to show up.
Yeah, and yet he never got to complete the triangle. Not until he could still romance Chetney.
Travis is a coward.
Travis is a coward.
Coward,
man.
We didn't even talk about the Sun Tree.
Sun Tree! Yes, it goes by a little bit too quickly, but it is a good scene.
It is a good scene. I think it is too quickly. We should have lingered more on this, but this would have gotten really morbid really fast.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say that I will talk later on about friends I have who watched this show solely because I recommended it to them. They had I made one of them watch some Critical Role scenes with me beforehand, but they were not of this part. And, they did like the scene, but they found the scene where the evil dictator something invite people for dinner and the people are happy to be there kind of odd.
Sure, it's odd, but it's the Briarwoods.
It is very much style, yes. Also, if you want to kill them and make those corpses look somewhat unspoiled in that regard and just kind of bad in other ways, poisoning them at dinner makes sense.
Yeah.
And who do they invite for dinner? Who?
A certain Laudna.
Yes. And which one of the corpses dangling off the tree is Laudna?
A certain half-elf.
You have to be more specific.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. Vex.
Yes, it is the Vex corpse. This is one of my biggest grievances with the fandom at large, is conflating this show with the actual stream canon.
Yeah.
Because people were like, oh, but I thought she was Pike, and no. First of all, there's a bit of a size difference between the tiny child that was killed to signify Pike, voiced by Kestrel Regal, by the way.
Now
Sam's
daughter. We have killed both of Sam's children.
Yes, looking forward to Ronan voicing the child that is killed by Scanlan's fireball in next season.
Yes.
Just to complete the set. Also, Liam has another son that can die. Maybe that son can voice Kynan. Is he old enough? He could be old enough.
Oh my god.
He doesn't die.
He doesn't die, and also, based on, the characterization that they put for Vax, because, Vax is so toothless and disruptive character in this show, I'm not even gonna get into it.
You can't completely cut Kynan is the thing.
I know you can't, but, I'm not putting it, where are they gonna fit Kynan in? Because, like, do you see...
No, I mean, this was a can. This
yes,
was a,
sorry, thank
not
you.
a can. You can absolutely cut Kynan. Yeah, it's nothing.
And I think they're planning on it, because,
He's
like...
already cut, so yeah.
At some point, Liam O'Brien is going to have to look at the cartoon and be like, oh, I totally beat the shit out of that kid.
No, they can
Do I
skip those
want
parts
to-
because they are before what got animated.
Fine, fair enough.
No need to reckon with that.
No need to reckon with that.
So, please, dear fandom, remember that in the original, Pike wasn't present for the dinner, so there was only one child's corpse dangling off the tree. For Scanlan.
Mm-hmm. And there was also
a bear and a dragonborn. Well, no, somebody painted red to
Yes.
look like a dragonborn.
Yes, I so strongly remember the scene that I can basically imitate the gestures that Matt does to indicate that someone has been painted red.
Huh.
Like, he does, like, this hand gesture across his face to be, like, painted red. And, like, I don't know, it drilled into my head.
Yeah, so this is a good scene.
Yes.
Good scene. Excellent.
Good scene. Should have been at the end of last episode.
It should have been a combined episode, yes.
Should have been a combined episode. We also didn't talk at all about Scanlan in this episode, but, like, who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? Oh, well, okay, we can mention that he is kind of trying to translate Delilah's book, which is funny because he speaks no languages. This is just pro-Bard propaganda coming in. I see you, Matt.
Yes.
And Keyleth reveals
Ayun's
to
not
us...
gonna fuck you.
Keyleth reveals to us, while looking over Scanlan's shoulder, that her preparation classes for her Aramente apparently included classes in Ancient Abyssal.
Mm-hmm.
And also theology, because she recognizes the ziggurat as a religious thing for gods that her people just don't follow and don't care about.
And then she said that she falls asleep. She fell asleep in her classes a lot, which is, like, interesting to
In
think
the
about.
Ancient Abyssal class, yeah, when she was presumably the only child in the room.
Yeah. I actually kind of liked it. I've turned around on that because now I'm imagining, like, the teachers watching, like, Keyleth fall asleep at her desk and she's the only student there and being like, just let her nap. She's under a lot of pressure, okay?
Yeah, that's true. It's Ancient Abyssal. What would she do in the Abyss? What would she need this for? Let her just have this.
Just let her have this. She needs this.
At Aramente School for Aramente takers.
Anyway, moving on to episode 6. We are officially halfway through.
Almost, yes.
Episode 6.
Episode 6, which is called Flames of Rebellion? Spark of Rebellion?
Oh, by the way, we did the last episode. We gave it a 1.
Yeah, which is actually pretty good.
Pretty good.
Puts it in the better half of these episodes, really.
The rebellion in Whitestone is apparently alive and well, despite all evidence to the contrary. Up until their leader, Archie, and then the crowd goes wild because we all know and love Archie.
Archie! Who doesn't remember Archie Desney, most beloved character of the entire franchise? Whoa.
Everybody knows Archie. Woo, 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 woo. Anyway, Archie gets captured, and his ears get ripped off.
It's an explicit torture scene, yes.
Yes. Keeper Yenin points the party. Keeper Yenin voiced by
Gina Torres. So Keeper Yenin Keeper Yenin has changed both gender and deity.
And race. Actually, I don't know if
the race wasn't specified.
Yeah, that's true. I don't remember quite. I think Archie may have also not been white, but it's okay.
I don't think that was specified.
I don't think that was specified either. Anyway, Keeper Yenin points the party towards the prison where Archie's being held right now and being tortured by a very evil guy.
Hold on. Archibald Desney is a very elderly man with a very thin, frail form. His weathered skin is dark and leathery with liver spots all over his nearly hairless scalp. So dark skin.
Dark skin.
You're correct.
Though not specified
so
how
he was
dark.
also whitewashed.
Yes, technically. How shall we interpret dark skin? That is up to you. Anyway.
Yeah.
They have some plans to break into the prison, mostly bad ones and then a good one, narrated by Vex. The prison break works. Ish. Until Percy...
With a whole ass crowd.
Yes. Until Percy sees Circarian Stonefell. Like Blorbo from my sites. Like Blorbo from my shows.
What?
I like the way you wrote this here. You wrote Percy sees Stonefell from his list. And it's making me think of Blorbo from my shows.
I don't really get the Blorbo joke. It's just
don't worry about it.
I don't know what it is, where it comes from, why people are doing it, but it's a fun word.
I think it's just a fun word, and that's the joke.
Okay.
And he just has to kill him. And in the meanwhile, Pike is definitely visiting her definitely not a cult.
Meanwhile, in the B plot.
Alrighty. Who the fuck is Archie?
A hobbit.
We keep making this joke. Well, I keep making this joke generally because, and every time I make it, Jana pointedly just suffers along and has a nice time because she's a saint. But I just want like a cut of this show where every single instance where Archie is on screen is replaced with Trinket.
Right, yes. Every time Archie appears, we insert the clip of Laura yelling, "Where's Trinket right now?" And then fill the scene with her dragging the giant life-size bear onto the set from episode 1 in the 40s.
Yes. I don't know. The addition of I understand why they added Archie, okay?
Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so...
I never watched Lord of the Rings.
The role he plays here has nothing to do with the role the voice actor plays on Lord of the Rings. Unless it's... Yeah, I think it's like Merry. It's Merry. So, to be fair, the role of Merry and Pippin in the middle film was just to be like, okay, so this isn't the part where we all go pee, because it's a jag and depressing, but this is still just kind of distracting from the interesting plot right now. And that's kind of what Archie does.
Sure. I don't know, it's just he's very present, and I keep expecting, like, the thing is that he's a guest star. And, like, it's fine, sometimes you just write in a character and make them more important for the guest star. I get it, but, like, why is he around so fucking much?
Yeah. Okay, so fun fact from the Q&A, where somebody asked him, so Archibald is not like on the show, and everyone's like, no. So why not? And then they just kind of get very quiet. And it's like, well, we needed like a charismatic leader guy to get them from point A to point B. And like...
No, you don't.
No, you didn't. Like...
No, you didn't. I mean, you've spoken... Do you want to speak on like the why it is frustrating that like there's already a rebellion going on?
I mean, it kind of reframes... This is the problem with the show as a whole, by the way, that ties into the point that I copied from my friends who watched the show about how, why are these people just going to a chill dinner with the Briarwoods? But, like, this is a bit, I think, are you referring to my point about the genre shift?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so with this fast-paced, we are going to free a rebel leader from prison, and then it's just go, and what, this is kind of changes the genre of the arc from gothic horror to action-adventure, which is fine, if that's what you're going for. It just doesn't really gel with the previous parts, especially since episodes 4 and 5 lean so far into horror. And I just feel...
I also think it doesn't gel with Orthax either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And I also feel like a slower episode where they just kind of, suss out the situation of Whitestone being a shithole with their base of operations. Like, okay, this is on one hand, again, the show taking away the competence the characters had. Mm-hmm. They walk around without disguises. They do not get recon. They just kind of stumble dicks first into trouble.
And look, how great for them that there's already a rebellion waiting for them.
Yes. When in the original, this was a very atmospheric and slow-paced part where they put on disguises, because walking around as wanted fugitives that are also hanging from the fucking sun tree for everyone to see is not a good idea. Unless you want the entire derivative of Attack on Titan giant army at your doorstep.
I also think that there's, like, an element of, like, it makes Vox Machina kind of superfluous. Like, they're like, because I think that, in a sense, like, what I really liked about, because in the show there was also a rebellion, but...
There were several rebellions, and they were defeated.
Brutally crushed.
Yes, on the stream, they make it clear why Cassandra feels like she can't really lead the people of Whitestone, because she was the reason these rebellions failed, because she was a double agent.
Yeah, which, like, really complicates, like, the narrative for Cassandra, which I really like.
Yeah, and that cuts so deep that one of the only things mentioned on Stream Archie's Wikipedia page is that he can't look Cassandra in the eye after he finds out about this, because she betrayed her people and a bunch of people died.
Yeah, that's awful. She was, at the time, like, younger than the show, so she probably was, like, 15 or 16. And, like, that's...
At the most.
And that's
like, you can make
horrifying.
A case for Cassandra being barely 16 when we see her on the stream.
Yeah, and like, that's terrible. That's awful to think about. And, like, I don't know, it just feels like so much more emotionally... number one, it makes a lot more sense, because, like, you want to tell the story at the point at which... The turning point, you know, at the moment where things change. And the moment where things change for this rebellion is, like, the rebellion for once in their life is viable. Because, like, it has these heroes who have the firepower.
Yes, and also I will say that this is Percy in the rebellion on the stream is a symbol.
Yes.
But that's not the reason the rebellion is viable.
Yeah.
Like, people do not rise because, oh, we lost the role, O'Hare has returned. No, they kind of have one of those. They rise because they see the new people in town getting results. And they get the quest to take out 3 new nobles in their mansions from Keeper Yenin just fine.
Yeah, and I love that scene where, like, they burn the house, and then, like Matt, like, talks about how, like, there's sounds of people in the street also taking it, like there's a realization that,
yeah, because for a few days now, they've been going around spreading word of rebellion, and this is a sign. People want to go now.
Yeah, and, like, it's not that they didn't need to incite it, they didn't need to plan it, it just sort of happened, because, like, oh, things are changing, and, like, it feels so, like, number one is I also think that the change is, in the genre, is detrimental to the Orthax plot, but number two, it's detrimental because, like, it takes away the sort of the slow action to high action, like, change. Like, you get to see the change very slowly.
Yes.
And, like, sure, it actually happens over the course of a few days, at most. But, like, man, is it good.
God, that original scene where Percy goes visiting Keeper Yenin, and then the original Archibald comes in, and they talk in, like, veiled allusions to things, and then Percy drops his disguise and is like, "This is me, full name, I have returned to you." That is such a good
It's me,
moment,
mother!
too.
Anastasia. Anastasia.
No.
No, I agree with you. I think that, like, this is a change, and I understand why they did it, but I don't think it's a good change. I think it really, and that it feels, you feel it throughout the entire arc, but this episode in particular feels, what the fuck?
I mean, this episode in particular is actually kind of fine.
Is it?
I'll say. Yeah, no, Archie super fluid. Archie just not belonging there. Like, this episode, as an episode, if you don't know what's supposed to be happening.
This is the episode with the shit.
The prison break is... No.
Isn't it?
Is this the episode with the prison break? This is the episode with the piss. This is the episode where they break Archie out of prison.
Oh, right. No, wait, isn't there, like, a scene where, like... No, yes, you're right. This is the episode with the piss. You're right. I've blended the two in my brain. Toilet humor. I do like the door scene. I think the door scene is fine.
It's not even as elaborate. You just changed the subject completely, but it's not even as elaborate as it is on the real show when they break open the door to a church, and it takes like 3 spell slots. And somebody takes damage. Yeah, no. Regarding Archie, what I wanted to mention from the Q&A too was that when they were like, yeah, we needed like a person to get them from point to point, and you had that here, and you had Gina Torres voicing that person. Like, why wouldn't you use that? I am a little upset that they changed Keeper Yenin from being a cleric to Arathis to being a cleric of Pelor, but if you want to reincorporate Pelor later on, that's fine. I also think that nobody who isn't familiar with the gods in this has any clue that Keeper Yenin serves a different god than Pike does.
Yes, they feel about the same. Like, oh yeah, fire and sunlight, whatever.
What was I?
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Pike goes to a cult.
Yeah, because she does in the end. I don't know. I was defending this episode because on paper, the whole prison break plot is fine. Like, they're doing something. It's okay. It gives them like a thing to do. So it doesn't really stick out so much that Archie is here. It does stick out a little bit that apparently he and Percy used to be friends as kids and raise hell or something.
They didn't.
Which
I mean, like I said in that, like, most I can... I'm not saying that they don't have sexual tension. They do. I'm not saying that they didn't practice kissing. They probably have.
On the animated show, not the old dude.
Yeah, on the animated show, because, like, Archie, that would be very disturbing in the actual canon. But what I'm saying is, like, whenever Percy is, like, shown sword fighting as a kid, or talks about
pranking.
raising hell and pranking, it's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Nope. If anything, like, Archie, like, teamed up with your brother to bully you. Like, yes. That is at the most
Percy
I'm willing to
was
give.
In the library, Percy was getting bullied. Percy was not a prankster as a kid. We know this.
We know this. Percy stayed home and read his books and was a very nice boy.
Yes.
Except for the fact that he was a little shit.
Yeah, but yeah. Right, so, what might have tripped you out is that we also meet Duke Vedmeyer in this.
Yeah,
voiced by Rory McCann, the Game of Thrones actor. And, and also what I wanted to mention about this Q&A, that after they tried to explain why they needed Archie for the plot to move, which they did not, they then start raving about, oh, but it's such a sexy dwarf design, and the voice actor does such a good job, we got this person on here, we got a hobbit to voice this, oh my god. Bit of a different tone from the Lord of the Rings this thing in the very first moment of the show, but I get it, I get being starstruck, but this just, I feel nothing hurts, especially these middle episodes, more than the completely unnecessary addition of Archie, who adds nothing, takes away from the other characters, and is just completely unnecessary in every regard.
And dies.
Yeah, so also meanwhile Pike in the B-plot Pike is visiting a cult. It's creepy.
It's creepy. Anjali does a great voice, though.
Sure, yes.
She's so dreamy. Anyway.
This episode got a -1 because we didn't hit it with negative points for adaptation. Because, like, at least we're doing something and we're crossing a name off the list with amazing visuals.
That was
by the
fucking
way.
great.
All the Orthac stuff is wonderful.
Does it make any sense for why he, like, shapeshit, like, he teleported and suddenly had a mask on? No. Was it fucking sick? Yes!
Is the mask supernatural? Is it actually a tool? Does he keep it after this? Who knows? Who cares?
It's sick! It's metal! I love it!
It looks great.
It looks so good.
He also says the thing. You were the one I was the least looking forward to.
Yeah. It's good. It's good shit.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
It's good shit.
But...
yeah, so that's the episode.
Yeah, warts and all. That's the episode.
Now the Scanbo episode starts.
The Scanbo episode.
This is, by the way, the episode written by Sam and Travis.
You can tell.
I didn't even have to tell you, you just knew.
Let me read you the summary for this episode. After a flashback to Percy and Cassandra's totally not evil, totally normal teacher.
Very trustworthy, would have hired on the spot.
Super trustworthy. There are several different in-group fights happening at the underground base because Percy whipped around and pointed a gun at Vax, and he took that personally. Keyleth accidentally sets a tree on fire in an underground base, which Vex tries to call her out on, only for Vex to take that personally. Percy wants to kill the Briarwoods, Archie wants to kill the Briarwoods, and have Percy lead, so Percy doesn't want to do that anymore. This is a conflict.
Sort of.
This is taken personally. Scanlan wants
by someone, probably Vax.
Probably Vax. Scanlan wants to target the House of the Enforcer on his own. No one believes that he can, but they let him go anyway because they don't really care if he dies anyway. And then they randomly just wait around in a room. Scanlan has no idea. With Archie.
Contributes so much.
So much to the scene. Scanlan has no idea what he's doing, but it works out anyway. Then the other group goes to Dr. Anders' house, where there's arches pointed at the doors, and he just happens to have a blade to Cassandra's throat, which he cuts.
Yeah, I know why you were confused, because the Anders episode is very much the next one, but this episode does actually start out with a weird flashback to where Anders was like, but Lord DeRollo, how about we make more money? And then is extremely resentful when Lord DeRollo is like, money isn't everything. It's a weird, which is also a non-conflict, let's be real.
Yeah, it's this episode should be titled Non-Conflicts and You.
How to not fight conflict.
Yeah, and also it has my favorite thing to point out, which is like, and it's actually my second favorite. My favorite thing to point out is the hand thing, where Vax lops off a hand and then takes issue with Percy shooting a hand. Well, Vax contributes to the lopping off of a hand. But my second favorite thing to point out is, like, Vax literally saying that he will kill Percy. Mm-hmm. And then Vex goes, hey, Keyleth, stop lighting a fire in an underground base. And Vex is like, whoa. Lay off of her, okay?
Yes. And I will, like, to be fair, that is very, very artfully adapting Vax's real on-stream hypocrisy.
Yeah, you're right. It is Vax. I don't think they know
but I don't think it's intentional.
I don't think it's intentional either. I think we're meant to think that he's reasonable. But, like...
Yeah, in the original, there was a fight about the escalation of violence that happened when they, like, ripped out someone's tongue and cauterized it and threw him out a window, which was, was a lot.
Yeah, gothic horror.
You could understand that. This doesn't happen here. Like, the Stonefell kill was just, Percy shot a dude, then Vax approached from behind, Percy whipped around, gun still drawn, which, like, do not point guns without looking first, do not point guns at friends.
Yeah, but they are in a prison.
Or throw tanks at them. But they were in a combat situation in a prison. Vex was approaching from the side, so, like, it's chill?
Vex, you're wearing all black and you're a rogue. Like, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, then there's a weird conflict, like, I don't understand what is happening here.
Me neither.
Because Percy is here for revenge. Archie is here for getting the Briarwoods out of charge. Apparently only Percy can now lead them because everyone has feudalism brainworms.
Yes.
Which might be fun word building, but doesn't exist on the stream where everyone is just like, we just want to get rid of these sick fucks. We don't care who's our legitimate ruler by any law. We just want better living conditions.
Yeah, I genuinely think that most of the Whitestone could care less whatever happened to the Geraldos. But also, like...
Yeah, the Geraldos aren't even really leading the the city anymore. There is a council that rules that the Geraldos just happen to be on.
Yeah, which I think is also lost on the part of the...
3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Lost on the part of the show, which is like, they don't keep the monarchy.
They don't.
They very much don't.
It's not a factor.
No, it's really not. And also,
it's
like,
really not.
even if it was a factor, this is such a non-conflict. So, like, okay...
You know, how about we just take out the current rulers and then we talk about what to do after? Because for now, everyone in this is the same thing, which is to get rid of the Briarwoods.
Why is everyone yelling?
Yes, precisely. Yeah, so then the Scanbo part happens where people just let Scanlan go take out the mansion on his own, which, I don't like that he was framed as less competent than he was on the show. Sam has pointed out in the Q&A to this episode that Scanlan on the stream had, like, way more spells accessible to him, so they had to kind of improvise, which I love words about the magic system, too.
Yes, and also, like, I think it's worth noting that, like, that wasn't the plan that they let him go off and do. Like, they didn't...
No.
The expectation wasn't like, hey, Scanlan, go do a suicide mission. It was... The expectation was that he would light the house on fire and run. Like, it was a distraction.
This would be a sign, and it would be a distraction and a sign. They would take out another house, and that would be the sign that the rebellion is on, to spark hope in the people. Be the Mockingjay, Keyleth.
Yes. Like, this whole thing isn't... Like, the decision to rush came from Scanlan.
Yeah, they were trying to figure out how they could do this with both houses at the same time. Scanlan made the decision. Vex wasn't nagging him about not being able to do this, or at least not to this extent. And he was, okay, so he did fuck up at the entire time. The Triceratops part was very short, and he did end up on the roof with no idea how to set it on fire because he didn't have spells for that. Until he went with the fire-breathing potion. But yes. He was a lot less, just fucking around, bumbling around, whatever he was doing.
He wasn't succeeding on accident, is what I say. Like, he was fumbling around, yes. But the ways in which he succeeded happened intentionally.
He also wasn't doing this out of a tantrum.
No, it wasn't a tantrum. It was, I mean, sure, it was petty in the way that all, like, Scanlan things are, but it just sort of happened that it turned into, like, this big heroic moment. It wasn't that, like, he needed to prove himself. And also, like, there's just a weird, like, ableism thing happening here.
Yeah, okay, so, something that Count Vedmeyer and Anders in the next episode share is the weird need to stand in the middle of the set piece and monologue about evil things, and the evil things here are just him insulting Scanlan's size over and over and over again.
Yes.
Which can be an ableism in our world, can be a racism in universe. It's some sort of ism, and also it gets repetitive and kind of weird.
In both worlds, it's a dick joke.
Sure. Speaking of dicks, I remember someone on this call was very upset when we had to see Lord Vedmeyer shit himself, because if you stand up like that, chances of your shit hitting the toilet are iffy. It didn't get to see his dick.
Yeah, no, fairness. I think this. I was upset for many reasons. Number one is that we don't.
Honestly, from that angle, we should have seen it.
We should have seen his dick, and we should have seen Grog's dick.
Should have seen his dick.
Because, like, if we have to see tits, we should see Shaft.
Not really equivalent there, but sure.
Sure, but, like, you get my point.
I do, which is why I will point you and the lovely listeners to Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 1, I think, or somewhere around that time when we do see the voice actor's dick. who looks very much like the character he's voicing.
Huh.
And it's a reflection in the water as he pisses into a lake.
Oh. Well,
Appropriate,
yeah. Anyway, I think this episode is, Oh, we didn't even talk about the retcon.
Which one?
Cassandra.
The fact that Percy and Cassandra have classes together?
The fact that Cassandra is in this part.
Yeah. This is the worst sequence break they've done. Like, just on a ground level up. It makes no sense for the Briarwoods to have their most prized hostage in some random house.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Instead of in the more defensible location in their castle. Like, yeah, maybe you don't want people interrupting your rituals downstairs or whatever, but you have to find the downstairs first. It takes effort. It takes a Ripley, apparently. And why not keep Cassandra close by? She could be joining these people. Why send them to this random house? And yes, the house was trapped, but Cassandra didn't have to be there. That would have been the real trap.
Yes. And also, like...
Andrews also didn't have to be there.
In the defanging of Vax is very distracting to me, too. That, like, this happened originally... Sure, in the actual show, it turned out to just be a trap. Like, she wasn't actually ever at a risk, but... As far as we know. But Vax is the one who triggered the slitting of the throat.
Yeah, Vax is the one who just ran in there and then got her throat slit. Something Percy never held against him. He tried to. Vax shut it down. And which starts a very fun chain of the blame game later on, when, like, Vax getting Percy's sister's throat slit is like, oh, what happened? What's a little fratricide between friends? When Percy accidentally triggers a trap that kills Vax, Vax takes that personally. Which, I mean, fair, but also, can somebody bring up that Vax did the same thing to Percy, kind of?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not saying that he can't be upset, I'm just saying that, like, the fact that we're not meant to take any of Vax's behavior as hypocritical, and that the show seems to be, like, uniquely, I don't know, even...
Yeah, the show just gets rid of these behaviors.
Yeah, to the point where, like, I don't even think it's pro-Vax. Like, I think that the show has actually done so much work to remove any kind of interesting thing from Vax's record that he kind of just stops being a character.
Yeah, Vax is very, like, ironically whitewashed.
Yeah, he just feels very... He's not needed in any of these scenes. He's not contributing very much. He barely rogues around.
He barely rogues around. Boy, that will be fun in a few episodes.
Also, I don't think it... I think it leads generally to a compounding problem with Cassandra in general, where she just...
Mm-hmm.
Is in places where she shouldn't be, and isn't in places where she should be, and just never really clicks in a way.
She just hangs out with the rebellion for a bit here, and nobody, like, notices or cares.
Yeah, it just feels like...
But we're not there yet.
Yes. It feels a lot like when you have, like, a scripted encounter with a character where, like, you have the option of keeping them alive in, like, a video game, but it's very clear that you were not supposed to. And so she's just kind of around, and you're like, oh, you weren't. They didn't write a script for you, huh?
She's not even around yet. This is the next episode.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I understand they kind of blend into each other, and it's,
And also, like, this is I'm trying to say it's a compounding problem. It starts here, and it continues.
And I mean, ideally, those two house raids would have been conducted at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we frequently cut from Scanlan infiltrating the mansion to everyone just being in, like, a bunker and being like, wow, this takes ages. Let's just sit around here doing nothing. Dum, 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 dum.
Which just why? Why are you animating people doing nothing? Is it cost effective?
No, it also just... You know what it does remind me of a little bit?
What?
You know what else the Hobbit that Archie is played by did in the second movie? There's a lengthy scene where the trees talk to each other, and it's... People didn't like these chapters in the books, and and the boredom of this scene is so much compounded by the fact that the characters in the scene are also bored.
Oh no. God. Yeah, it's really compounded by the fact that nobody else cares either.
Yeah. I mean, Vex kind of insults herself. Why did I let him do that? Like, he volunteered...
Oh, yeah. This episode is written by someone who does not like Vex. Oh, right, yeah, it's written by... you know what? I answered my own question. I just answered my own question. Mean? But not incorrect.
That is mean, but it's also hard to disprove. And Sam's record of remembering anything Vex does accurately or fairly or benevolently or at all is spot spotty at best.
Yeah, like, I think that, like, if you ask Scanlan, like, what Vex, like, who's Vex? And he'd say, like, the bitch twin. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Like, the fact that this... Yeah, okay. That is why she's written in this way, this episode, I'm gonna have to say. Because, like, she's written as, like, very, very spiteful in this episode. Like, you can't do this, Scanlan. And then she's like, who let that gnome do that? And everyone's like... Like I said, like, she's villain-coded.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes she's weirdly villain-coded. Okay.
Okay, we're done with this episode.
We are.
Why did we rate it?
On to episode... Oh yeah, we rated it a -9.
Oh, yes. We said that if it's a -9, it counts as a...
And we did that. We did that before we knew who wrote it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So episode 8. A Silver Tongue. Exceedingly clever.
So clever.
So we start on Keyleth saving Cass from dying using her nature magic. Kind of simultaneously, but also afterwards. Percy is fighting Professor Anders in the other room, but also the entire party, because Anders, with his silver tongue, it's so clever, charms them all.
All of them.
Cassandra lives and is kind of creepy.
So creepy.
Meanwhile, in the B plot, Pike finds out she's not actually Catholic, and her deity actually has no problem with fighting and drinking and swearing, just with...
Question mark?
Getting hit by evil spells, doubting and lying to yourself, I guess.
It's just like, the Everlight doesn't care about you swearing and drinking and using evil spells. She cares about... Question mark?
She hasn't even used anything.
Question mark?
Lying to yourself?
When did she ever lie to herself?
Maybe?
Like, but then why did the powers go away?
She just genuinely... Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yes.
Back in the A plot, Delilah sees everything going up in flames and is like, time to raise every single dead.
Every single dead.
I wrote no notes for this episode because, except for this sequence break is bad and should feel bad. By sequence break, I mean the fact that they felt the need to have Cass in one of the houses they take down and not as part of castle infiltration. That leads to Ripley getting away because priorities, and it's just like the dominoes. The dominoes,
they are cascading.
Fall so hard that it doesn't make sense anymore. I will say my high point about the whole Cassandra thing was when Keyleth revived her. They both just shrieked at each other in horror.
Yes, I thought that was fun too. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, the fight scene was fine.
It's fine. I agree. I didn't like how, like, the choreography was fine. It was all weird. I didn't really like how Anders moved.
He didn't move.
No, he did. He moved weirdly quickly.
Did he? I only remember him standing in the middle of the room having weird villain monologues.
Because that was the most compelling part. He also moves very fast for some reason.
It's his tongue gift that gives him super speed, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks weird, and like you kind of forget that it happens because it doesn't make any sense and it's not explained. Also,
this man is not charismatic enough to be a bard.
No, it's not charismatic. His speeches feel very first draft.
Yes, so does his design.
Design.
I made fun of him in the flashback about how his design and manner of speech and general behavior is just so obviously evil that it's like you would never hire this man to teach your children.
Yes, it's so obviously evil that like you almost expect there to be like a twist where he turns out to be good, just because like they wouldn't approve of this.
Yes, and like kind of a point to Anders is that Percy asks most about him from everyone on his list, and it was his tutor. The guy who taught Percy to like the things he liked.
Yeah, like, I think...
Who had been working for the family for years, had infiltrated them, was a bard, lied his way through apparently, and then from the inside helped getting them all killed, which kind of fuels some certain paranoias Percy has and will have and continue to have about certain bards.
Yes. And I also do think that, like, I understand how this is the biggest, like, betrayal, in a sense, because, like...
Yes. Because it is an actual betrayal.
Well, yeah, well, like, I mean, the guards also betrayed them, but, like, in a sense that, like...
Yeah.
The guards are paid to be there. Like, you know, they're paid staff. And, like, sure, that's a betrayal, too, but, like, ultimately you can say that their job isn't that different from, like, a paid soldier. But...
Those are called mercenaries.
Yeah, sorry. There's a difference between being that and being, like, the tutor of the children of the family.
Mm-hmm. And especially Percy, being the nerd he was, would have had a very close relationship to his tutor.
Yes. And, like, knowingly and choosing to allow them, well, not even allow, but like contribute to them being murdered is like a distinct betrayal.
Yeah, little undersold here, whatever.
Yes, you do really get the sense that, like, when Percy says, like, you're the face I saw when murder entered my heart, it's like, it doesn't it doesn't just mean, like, you're the face that I first wanted to murder. It's like, you taught me about, like, what it means to do violence so sincerely against another human being, more so than the Briarwoods and more so than Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, they came and they did it hardest, but you were the one who did it first.
Yes. Yeah, it's a hardcore line, and the personal betrayal here is like, I mean, I think it's okay. I don't think it's more or less understated than on the stream, because the stream gets a little bit chaotic in this sequence.
I agree, it is very chaotic.
There's like, Vax is dying, Cass is dying, then there's a love confession.
Yeah, a lot happens all
Sequence
at once,
breaks.
okay? It's a bit confusing.
Yes, chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this isn't also, weirdly, not quite the main event. Oh, also Vex gets to flirt with another archer, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I do kind of like that scene.
The archer is voiced by Matt, right? That's how you know he's going to die within the scene.
Yes. Not that long of a shot.
Yeah, and then there's Pike, who, like, the temple she's at is just willing to let her die.
Yes.
No, you can't do this. This is too much energy. This is certain death.
And then they all go get their shit prepared.
Drinks.
They get drinks and get prepared to do a funeral, right?
Yeah, these people really love and care for her. Very normal.
Mm-hmm.
Get a better god.
Get a better god, please.
Also, like, it is so weird. This is just, the entire Pike plot is, like, so weird. It's also apparently very transparent that this exists because the actress wasn't there for the part on the stream. Like, the friends that I have figured this out just based on how this plot was paced, without me telling them anything about it.
Yeah. I almost wonder if you could have done something here with Pike dying in this. Like, I know that would be a huge retcon, but, like, Pike being killed by the Briarwoods and then having to have, like, that resurrection ritual and then to have...
This would be a huge retcon, or you could have, like, had her flashing back to dying whenever her magic didn't do what she wanted it to do, and that making her doubt the goddess's commitment to her.
Yeah, I think just
anything.
Just anything. Because right now...
Anything.
There's just a big gap there, where it's just like, then why did her magic leave? Like, if her god is so accepting, what's going on here?
Yeah, maybe giving her the magic to heal her friends in need would have been nice here. That would have been a way to erase her doubts. But this way it's like, she must have done something wrong for her goddess to forsake her in these moments of need, right? But apparently the only that she did wrong was doubt and or lie to herself or something. But the way the events are portrayed is that we very much see Pike trying to do magic and it failing, and then she starts doubting.
Yeah, it's very clunky. Things...
It could have used another go around in the writer's room.
I think so. It just kind of feels rushed through.
Yeah. It also is just a little bit weird that you committed to a god this much in your entire life and you don't even know the tenets of their faith.
Yeah,
that's the joke we make.
Yeah, did Will Hand just never explain it?
Did Pike just not know she's not Catholic? Well, to be fair, Catholicism might be not like swearing, but drinking is fine.
Yeah.
And fighting too, I guess.
Did nobody tell her that Cassandra is a war god?
I mean, to be fair, Samurai is a fucking war god, and, like, warriors are not known for their best behavior, are they?
No.
I also really don't understand what kind of deity, godly being would ever be concerned by you using the bad words, but,
It's a good question.
I have long since accepted that there's a bit of a cultural difference between me and certain Americans who are very offended by the word fuck.
You can't say the Lord's name in vain, and everybody knows that the Lord's name is fuck.
It is actually one of the not exactly viable ways to make those letters make sense.
Yes. Oh, God. Anyway, is there anything else we want to say about this episode before we move on? This episode is mostly fight scene.
What do we... Yeah, this ends on Scandal attempting to sexually harass people on the street, but that just turn out to be zombies.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Is this also where they use a slur?
Yeah, no, that's the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah, next episode is where they use a slur. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
This episode's fine.
Is it?
No.
It's just this I really, really don't like what they did with Cassandra. We didn't talk about Cassandra. Cassandra is creepy.
She's so creepy. She's not awake for much of creepy.
Yeah, she's she has the weirdest vibes that make her betrayal just very transparent. She's just barely, like, she seems barely awake at the time and just constantly haunted, which she is.
She does.
But is very opposite to what she was on the stream.
Here's the thing. I think that, like, I can almost see what they're going for, because I'm wondering if the directions that they gave to her is sedated, is, like, under the influence of repeated brainwashings, or, like, literal spells.
Maybe.
And, like, that's why she kind of sounds sedated and, like, a little bit creepy, but, like, it doesn't really work for her, especially because in the stream, like, the complicated nature of her betrayal is much more interesting. It's much more interesting. Like, the fact that it isn't exclusively magic, and it isn't exclusively psychology, and it's somewhere in between, that makes it compelling to me. Like, it's...
That's what Matt explains on the Q&A too, by the way, very elaborately.
Oh, that she's meant to be kind of sedated?
No, that it's a combination of magic and gaslighting and just raising her as a daughter for a few years.
Yeah, like, that'll fuck you up.
It'll fuck you up. I am going to get out my tinfoil hat.
Ooh, I love the tinfoil hat. It's very fashionable.
Do you? Okay, so I feel a little mean saying this, but every cast has a weak spot, and I feel like Cassandra's performance is the weakest.
Yeah.
All of all the people with extended speaking roles.
Certainly, I would say that she wasn't given very good direction.
Very possible. So here's the kicker. It's also kind of significant that Cassandra and Percy don't look very much alike, which is why Percy's eyes should have been blue.
Mm-hmm.
And also, they don't sound alike at all, because the actress cast for Cassandra is actually British, which of course is more accurate, but when you have Americans pretending to be British speaking and an actual Brit speaking, it's just a very different vibe.
Yes.
The actress who voices Cassandra also has never voice acted before.
Oh.
Is very young, no shade there.
Mm-hmm.
And has very few things on her resume except for one other Amazon Prime production. And like, I get the feeling that she wasn't exactly the cast's pick here. For a good reason. She also was probably in Britain for the entire time of this.
Yes, probably.
Probably. So while everybody recorded remotely, she was remotely.
Which
and nobody
explains,
knew her beforehand.
Like, she wasn't given very good voice direction.
Yes. So like, we would have wished for other actresses for Cassandra.
Other actresses who were working on this show?
Yeah, that too. I don't think Ashley Birch is necessarily a good fit for her. She is better for Kaylee.
Yeah.
But you know who would be a good fit for Cassandra?
Who?
Amy Carrero.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You've thought about this.
Briefly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Amy Carrero would have done a great job.
Amy Carrero in a soldiering on, keeping on a Dora voice a little lower registered.
Yeah. Amy Carrero has, like, a lot of range.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, also Cassandra's entire character was changed. Just her vibes. She was the youngest. She was pretending to be older than she was. She was a bit pompous. She's very put together. She very much has no patience for Percy. It's they get on each other's nerves immediately on the stream. The entire dynamic is dead.
Yes.
Mostly because Cassandra feels half dead, which can be the vibe, but
it isn't really.
I love stream Cassandra so much, and this one isn't.
Yeah.
No. So episode 9.
Episode 9. What happens in episode 9?
Well, we start with a sexy flashback to Delilah breaking the world, and then there's zombies. Giants. Zombie giants. Everyone is running, occasionally fighting, but mostly running, because the ground or the tree are much safer than the roofs when there's zombies attacking on the ground.
And then Archie's dead.
Oh yeah, Archie dies at some point. Pike is here again. There's a love confession. Archie dies in the background. Percy now wants to lead a rebellion or something.
He's gotten the leadership skills now.
Yeah, for some reason. And then they infiltrate the castle and find someone who has not been set up yet at all.
Nope. And is very summarily shown to be Ripley.
Yeah, like, if you know what's going on, you know what's going on, but, like, she hasn't been foreshadowed or built up for the non-stream audience at all.
Nope.
And won't be. Like, the friends I asked about characters on this show who are actually pretty good at figuring out who was who didn't remember her at all. For
Which
reasons.
is a shame.
It is a shame, because she's a very good character, but not on this show, really. She's like a bit of a nothing burger on this show.
She's a weirdly present nothing burger, but that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about...
Not yet.
Zombie fights. This episode is a lot of combat. And also...
Yeah.
The monarchy?
Not really.
I mean, it seems to be weirdly pro-monarchy, this episode.
Oh yeah, it is. That's what I mean with feudalism brainworms.
Yes, this episode has feudalism brainworms that the original stream just simply did not have.
The original stream, it was like it was cool that Percy was there, but again, Percy didn't even restore the monarchy. Percy and Cass made a council that they both on.
Percy is
and
technically
then Percy gets his wife on there, but yeah.
A prince and does never refers to himself as such.
Nope, only the Vox Machina episode, but to be fair, the political situation on this show has also been about as, or even more abstract than the magic system.
Yes.
Same as the legal system, which we could nitpick to no end, but what is really the point? People don't really care about political situations on these shows, or legal systems, or hard rules to magic.
I care. I care. Ball cares.
I care too, but it is not really the point of the show, is it?
Ball and Jana care. So what are some notable things about this episode? Like, I mean, I guess this is the episode where we're introduced to bad news.
Yes, it is.
My favorite gun.
It does a little bit. No, it's not the No, wait, when they stake out the prison in episode 6, Percy just has binoculars and doesn't use the... Or does he use the visor on bad news?
He might use the visor on bad news, but he doesn't shoot it.
Yeah. He shoots it here.
With the giant.
Filled up very dramatically.
Yes. Yeah, because with the giant and everything. It really should have misfired.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that, on the stream, everyone is, like, equally likely to roll a 1, technically, and everyone is equally likely to eat dirt and just fail. Percy in this, like, his gun misfires once in the first episode.
Yes. And since then, not at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, I think that, like, it's a fine combat scene. I think that, like, this is a fairly good combat episode, more or less.
Yeah, it's, engaging, it keeps going, I find it utterly hilarious how much of a non-event Archie's death is.
Yep, he just dies and then like, well, that was that.
That was that.
They don't even
Percy
show like
now once. No.
They don't even show like his body being like. There's not even like a press F to pay respects.
No, like the friends I asked about this show didn't even remember for sure if he died.
He gets cut in half, right?
I think he gets like his head like halfway cut off or something.
Hard to tell with dwarves.
Big thing cuts him, he dies. He doesn't even get like a dying monologue or...
No, because he gets like so brutally and summarily killed.
Yeah, but not even in a way that stands out. Like, not just because we've all become desensitized to the very gruesome, explicit deaths on the show, but also because it's just not really a lot.
And I guess, like, rip Archie in the arms of an angel. Like,
rip Archie, he contributed so much.
Why was he here for, like, 3 episodes?
Because they needed a person to get them from point A to point B. Because the characters can't figure anything out on their own.
Yeah, I don't know. It's he doesn't really do anything. And then he dies. Rip, I guess.
Rip. Yeah, then, there's a love confession.
Which one?
Scanlan isn't doing a love confession, she just asked Spike to marry him.
That's a good point. She already knew. There's the love confession, which is somehow more rushed than it was in the...
Yeah, and, suffers really, really hard from the sequence break they did with the Cassandra stuff, because, as I said last episode, the order of things is basically that Vax is bleeding out and dying, and... It is very much like, first of all, it kind of mirrors the last time he was almost dying, which is when he had visions of Keyleth under trees and stuff, which could have been like a fun cinematic callback.
Sure, like they're under a tree.
If you'd just done the thing. That too! God. They're even that. But he's not even bleeding out, they're just kind of taking cover there, and her answer is like, really, right now? This is like the worst time, which, yes, absolutely, is also verbatim what we said the first time we watched this.
Yeah, this feels like very much like a response to the fandom.
Yeah.
Like, everyone complains about how it's the worst possible time. Like, let's have Keyleth say, oh, this is the worst possible time.
Shade of the Lamp has entered the shed.
Yes.
Yes, and like, the thing is, the implication on stream was that Vax wasn't quite there because he was literally bleeding out.
Yeah,
so this was like a panic reaction.
if I had to rewrite the scene while keeping the fuck show, I would say just, like, have him get leveled by a giant.
Have him be severely injured and Kira helping him and healing him. Like, wouldn't you confess your love to the person that makes the pain go away?
Yeah, and have him be, like, faintly alive and, like, looking up at her, and she's, like, her face is, like, haloed by the sun tree. And, like, sure, the sun tree looks like shit, but it's there. It's still a tree. And then, like, have him confess his love, like, slightly bloodlost and dazed. And, like, sure, it's still a bad time, but it makes it so much more endearing when he's, like, kind of out of it. Like, listen, I've done some weird things. Have I told you about the time that I was at a dentist, and he had a receptionist who was, like, he had an assistant. He had a dental hygienist, who was still a student in college and was thus my age. And
you did not.
She was very pretty, and she gave me, she injected me with Novocaine, which has, like, epinephrine in it. So I started to just have, like, a full, like, heart-racing, like, oh god, I'm going to die reaction. Well, this
is not very chill.
No, it was not chill at all. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna die. And
Bill Armstrong lied to me.
Mm-hmm. And anyway, it was just a very awkward time of a very pretty girl my age being like, you're not gonna die, everything's fine. And you're like, okay, yeah. If only this was when I realized I was bisexual, but no.
Did you just tell her she's pretty?
No, I didn't tell her she was pretty. I was already under the effect of Novocaine.
Aww.
So give me Novocaine.
Yeah, well, isn't what this is about. This is about love confessions while you're bleeding out, which is, again, the whole frantic, manic timing of the original, with, like, Cass was kind of dying, or done dying, and Vax is now dying, and everyone is just rushing into the room, and Ripley is escaping, and it's a whole lot of things at once. Yes. And then Vax does this thing and also kisses her, and then they cut to break. Marisha blushes, hides behind her ring book. Liam is just like, bam, I did that. Laura is offended that she got to this point first.
Yes.
And then the next thing that happens is that Percy's in the background collecting arrows that Vax has shot and then starts hitting Vax with them for rushing into the room and getting Cassandra almost killed. This is one of my favorites in the entire thing. Yeah. And everything about it was gutted. Also, another tidbit from the Q&A. Mm-hmm. Marisha told the story of how she and Laura went to the bathroom during this break, and she was like, what is this? Where did this come from? What? How long has this been a thing? And Laura was like, for like 40 episodes.
Oh.
You can never tell when it's about you. You can always tell when other people are in the stage of courtship, even in D&D, but you can never tell when it's you.
Never.
I just thought we were a good team. I just thought he liked... I mean, I guess he does like me. It's very cute.
Yes. Oh.
Yes, to be fair, they also had to cut the whole, once you're fake married, you don't go back a bit.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just they shot Vaxleth so much in the foot, and this is something that we wanted to discuss in broader terms. Yeah. It just feels unsporting at some point.
Oh, you didn't like this ship, huh? Yeah, let's just rush through this.
Yeah. Which is weird, because, like, they're not rushing through, Pikeland very much. If anything, Pikeland got a facelift. But only one ship?
Yeah, but remember who has a writing credit?
Fuck.
Remember who has 2 writing credits on the show?
Fuck. Anyway.
Not to be mean and or tinfoil hatty.
What else do we have to say about this episode before we move on?
I mean, the sequence of Pike showing up just like astral projecting.
Oh yeah, that shit's great.
That was legitimately awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Like, as much as I don't like the subplot that they gave Pike, this part is awesome. It's really good.
Yes.
I actually really like her dialogue once she comes back. It really feels like they finally, like, clicked with Pike's personality.
Yes. I kind of want to give this more pizzazz points and bump up the rating to a 0.
Let's bump up the rating to a 0.
Whoa. Decent episode. It's like, the thing is, it just ends on them finding Ripley in a prison, and,
that makes us sad.
As much as the original reveal was a little bit spoiled by Marisha yelling out of character, but she legitimately just figured something out, so kudos to her.
Yeah,
it works
and I
so
think
much
that, like,
less here, because we don't even have the clues to figure out who this is.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the way that Marisha yells it's Ripley, in part because, like, it's not that obvious that it's Ripley. Like, it is hinted at the show before we meet her, but, like, it's only, like, through letters and, like, if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, but Marisha is the note taker. She pays attention. She figures this shit out.
Yeah, like, if you were not paying close attention to what was going on, it might not have fallen for you, and Marisha going, like, it's Ripley. It's, like, actually kind of very endearing. And kind of necessary.
Yes. Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, there's no illusion here. She does not pretend to be an old lady.
No, there is also, like, again, we don't have the information to figure out who this is. Since the whole breaking open the door and using 3 spell slots and taking damage scene was in a prison instead of a church, they didn't really find notes of Ripley's. They don't know she tried building guns and has been stalking Percy and has lost her arm that way. This entire thread isn't exactly set up well.
No. They also don't know that, if I remember correctly, she killed the previous priest before Keeper Yenin.
No, that's another one.
Oh, okay.
Like the Dawn Father, Palor priest has been killed and somebody else moved into his house.
Oh, right.
Teleri, maybe? Whatever.
Anyway.
Yes, that was the episode.
That was the
Not
episode.
happening here. Yep.
This episode is dedicated
10.
to the memory of Archie.
No, he's literally never mentioned.
Oh, God.
Episode 10 is called The Depths of Deceit.
A topic for next time. Unless, of course, you'd like to check out our Patreon, where the special is available in full right now to patron of all tiers. Also note that we recorded this in May, long before Campaign 3 did a lot of legwork in regards to clearing up whomstone the tree would go on to become Laudna. Many thanks to Lolafia for the art and Corin Sun for the music, and to you, dear listener, for sitting through this bitching session. It'll all conclude in the next episode, where we cover the final 3 episodes of the show, as well as the things we say we'll have words for later, in our rousing finale. That was recorded at 5 a.m. Yay! Hope to see you then!